Ah. Can you spot anything unusual here? There we go. And that, everybody, is a nest. And that nest is built by frogs. And they have the name, which is very fitting. They are called foam nest frogs because of this beautiful foam nest that they make. And now that the elephants have moved off, let me jump out here quickly. I'd just like to show you and explain a little more. Hold on. So the elephants are still over there, you can hear them, but they've moved off a little bit, so I should be alright. Looks like some of them have possibly been bathing here. They've splashed water around this little mud wallow. Actually trying to see if I can't see a little frog hiding on the tree. But everyone, what happens is these foam nest frogs, so they'll sit around the edge of the pan of this water hole, especially after all the rain that we've had. All these little water holes have filled up, so there's probably a lot of frog activity around here. We just can't see them at the moment. Usually they come out at night and they start calling. But what happens is these foam nest frogs will climb up onto these branches, and usually it's the female that climbs up, and she'll go and sit on the branch, and by calling, the males will find the females and vice versa. So the males will then, and I say males because it's not usually just one male. So a number of males will climb up onto the branch, and you notice how that nest has been strategically placed above the water. So what happens is when they're up at the top, the female will start laying her eggs, and the males jostle for the best position to fertilize those eggs. And with all that movement and that liquid, which is quite sticky, it starts to foam up, and that then creates this foam nest around that branch. And what happens is then the eggs are then left within that foam nest. Now, I haven't tasted it myself, but apparently it is distasteful. Even though it's bright white and it stands out, I think it is distasteful, so it prevents animals from going and raiding the nest. And also it's in an awkward position. It's not easy to get to those eggs. It takes about a week, about 7 to 10 days for those little eggs to incubate inside that nest. And once they hatch, the little tadpoles wriggle and they drop down into the water below them. That's why the nest is above the water hole. So it really is incredible. So within a week, probably this nest will be gone, and those little frogs, those little tadpoles rather, will be in this little mud wallow or water hole, and then eventually they will turn into adult frogs. So it really is fantastic. It's amazing. It's just something that I always find so fascinating in nature. This foam nest frog. Branch just bit me. Yeah, my friend would say, "Get back in your box, Byron." So I think I'll do that. Wasn't that nice? The elephant, the foam nest frog. It's amazing how much you can see just spending some time in a little area like this. There's a lot going on. Viola, you've asked how many frogs in a nest, and I don't know. Viola, I'm not sure. I wouldn't even hazard a guess, because I've not read anywhere how many little tadpoles hatch out of that nest, or how many eggs are laid. So I don't know. I would guess there's probably quite a few. Probably between 20 and 50, I would assume, somewhere around there. But I'm not entirely sure. Maybe one of our viewers have read up on the foam nest frogs. And I don't know if they've done studies on how many eggs are actually laid. If you have, please let us know. But my guess would be somewhere between 20 and 50, I'm not sure. Oh, look here, everyone. Some Inyala. They've probably just come to drink. These are the male Inyala. And you see how important these little water holes are, these little mud wallows that have formed from the rain, or they're filled up rather from the rain. Let's see if this Inyala goes to drink. I'm not sure if he's had a drink already. It looks like he has. You see, he's actually horned the mud, everyone. Now, that is very interesting. You see how his horns are covered in mud? Now, the reason these antelope do that is because when they are fighting and they are displaying, then they thrash their horns through the mud, and the reason for that is then it makes the horns look a bit bigger and darker, so almost like they are a bit more dominant. They're bigger and stronger than the other male. So that's one of the theories behind the reason why these antelope will go and horn the mud or cake the horns full of mud. And it's not just the Inyala, other antelope do it too. Kudu, the Impala do it, quite a few species of antelope do it. And I think it also protects the horns a little bit. That's another theory I've heard. But I think it's mainly it's a dominance display, thrashing the mud, and then with this mud building up on the horn, it makes the horns look a little bit bigger and thicker. Alright, we're going to continue our search of fantastic wildlife, and while I do that, Tayla, I think, is still with that elephant, but she's got something else there with it.
Hear me, Louise? Oh, okay, we're just checking. Oh no, watch Daryl now. Daryl, don't do that, because you are not going to be very popular by the people living in that house. Don't you dare push that tree over, Daryl. Hopefully the buffalo will distract him enough that he will not push that over. That's not necessary, Daryl. There's lots of food around you to eat. He's very naughty. He's going to get himself into a lot of trouble if he behaves like that. But isn't this lovely? It's quite a big herd of buffalo coming along here, just funneling past him. And I presume that they're going towards Sydney's dam. Bye, buffalo. They're going to disappear, but isn't that lovely? And I'm sure that they're happy. They seem to not be too bothered having a little look around. And it just shows you, though, how close these animals come right up to where we sort of live. Right up against the fences. It doesn't seem to bother them too much. Quite happy to walk through narrow corridors. Some of them have got a bit startled. I don't know if they've smelt something. We're sitting downwind, so I wonder if there's not maybe something lurking around the dam. Then a couple of them sort of said, nah, we're not going to follow. But we will soon see. And it's always good as a prey species to edge on the side of caution and move slowly and stop regularly and listen. And really just take it easy, because I think when you're in a hurry, that is where the predators then have the advantage, because they're not listening properly, they're not looking, they're probably not smelling as well as they normally would. And then, of course, the predators can just jump out and surprise them. Now, I'm actually changing my mind. I wonder if the little buffalo herd that's up ahead of us hasn't perhaps seen some people walking around. Like I said, we're here near a warden's house, and there's probably a bit of maintenance going on. Maybe there's even a workshop up there, but we can sort of just see those. They're a little bit not as comfortable as the rest that have quite happily walked straight towards Sydney's dam. If you can hear dogs, it's probably the anti-poaching dogs. So we have dogs that are able to sniff for various things, so for endangered species as well as for weapons and ammunition. And we've got a big gate, and as everybody comes through the gate, they search your vehicle and make sure you're not trying to bring anything you're not supposed to or take anything out. So those are those dogs barking in the background. And you can see now Daryl as well is Daryl, I think you need to come away from there, my friend. Why don't you come over to us and say hello? I worry about Daryl. Like I say, I don't think anyone is really as tolerant as what I am sort of towards him. I take all of his nonsense because I have such a good bond with him. It's very peaceful today out here. A slight gentle breeze, that's all, which I'm sure he's enjoying. Sorry, I just heard the buffalo making a noise, but perhaps it was just a little squabble between the ones that were heading down to the dam. Now, speaking about elephants, and I said to you that I reckon Daryl's probably coming into his 40s, or maybe he's already there. And Madison was wondering, how long do elephants normally live for? They actually live for quite some time. They can live but anywhere between 60 and 70 years, but it's not that they die of old age. It's actually got to do with their teeth. So I'm closing my eyes now because I'm staring into the sun. So I'll try and open them occasionally. So basically they've got 6 sets of molars that come through and push forward like a conveyor belt. And, well, every 10 years or so, they seem to get a new set of teeth. So that's how they've sort of aged out, depending on what they eat. If it's very sort of hard and dry vegetation, so you can imagine during the droughts, when the vegetation is not great and green and luscious, their teeth wear down a lot quicker. But now that we've got a bit of greenery, it should be alright, and they could live for a little bit longer. And I reckon if an elephant had another set of teeth, they'd probably live close to about 100. Isn't that amazing? Let's see what Daryl's up to now. He's coming out. Now he keeps going to this tree and he keeps wanting to push, looks like a knobthorn over. Now I'm happy if he pushes it over this way, that's fine. Let's see, yes, he's going to it again, but before he was pushing it over towards the house. I don't want him to push it onto the house, of course. Like I said, he will not be very popular then up here in the north. And you already have a reputation, mister. I think you need to clean your name up a little bit. Let's see, he's very interested by it. He doesn't need to push it over. And if he does, I don't think he'll uproot that tree. It'll probably just sort of snap quite close to the base. But then I suppose he'll eat the leaves. And the leaves from the knobthorn are lovely. Quite delicious. Now he's just feeding on something else. Speaking about elephant teeth, I know, Kim, you were wondering, do the elephant teeth come through at once, or do they only come through when needed? So they've got bottom teeth on either side of the jaw, as well as top molars on either side of the jaw. They like molars. And what happens is that they start at the back, so where our wisdom teeth come through, they push up through there, and the teeth move forward towards the front of the jaw like a conveyor belt. Sort of like when you have sushi and your sushi comes around on a conveyor belt, exactly like that, except they don't go round and round. So the teeth that are closest to the front of his mouth, so sort of where the tip of his tongue is, those teeth will often wear down, and you'll see them, they'll look very sort of flat. There's not a lot of grooves and things in them. Whereas at the teeth at the back, the new teeth that are coming forward and pushing through have all these lovely deep grooves. And that's something maybe one day we'll find an elephant skull, can perhaps have a look at their teeth. So it's sort of like, I suppose it's almost, the set comes through slowly. I mean, the teeth don't just all fall out at once. It's quite a process. Look how he's stretching up now, though. Look at he's doing serious yoga this morning. Maybe we'll have to go forward a little bit. Let's reposition so we can get a clear shot of Mr. Darryl stretching up and feeding on the trees. This is quite nice. You really see how enormous he is. But he's feeding against the fence. Now, Darryl, please don't pull any branches down onto that. Yes, just pull little bits off. There we go. Sorry, I've parked at a slight angle again. Well, we shall fix it. And there he is. And he is lovely and happy and just feeding on his favorite plants. Isn't that fantastic? Right, Darryl, your time is almost over to be a superstar, and I think let's go across and see how Bryan is doing.
So from the largest land mammal here to one of the smallest, there's little dwarf mongoose, everyone. Look at that, isn't that cute? Look at the little nose twitching. There are a few of them around, but they are quite shy. I'm hoping if we are patient, some more might come out. Oh, I see movement, but that's a beautiful view of that one. Just the bottom left hand side of that termite mound, you'll see another one. There we go. Now, these dwarf mongoose are very gregarious, which means they live in large family groups. So there are quite a few spread out around here, but they're probably hiding from us at the moment. They are shy little creatures, and these little dwarf mongoose will feed on insects that they find. I've seen them hunting grasshoppers before, where they run and jump and pick them off the grass. Alright, just move. There goes the other one. And they do live in abandoned termite mounds, or make their homes in there. And there it goes. It's hiding from us now, but wonderful sighting. Lovely to see it. The two dwarf mongoose. I did see movement of one or two others around, but they, as I said, they are a little shy and they move off at times, but they can get a bit curious if you're lucky. They may come and have a look and peer around the termite mound and see what you're doing. I can see one or two still moving around there, but what a lovely sighting. Nice to see the dwarf mongoose. Dark tranquility. You say the dwarf mongoose remind you a little bit of small birds. That's interesting. I don't know. Maybe because of the call, they've got this high-pitched little squeal that they give off. Maybe the movement and the beady eyes, perhaps, still of birds. I don't know. Maybe. And speaking of bird calls, I know Aaron was asking about my Hadada call. But before I do my Hadada call, Wilma wants to know, do these dwarf mongoose or mongoose species eat snakes? They do, some of them. Not so much the dwarf mongoose. I think they're quite small. And you asked, is it only venomous snakes? No, they'll eat any snake, I think, and usually it's the larger mongoose species. And yeah, especially slender mongoose and that, they'll go for snakes, I know, and probably yellow mongoose. Those are usually solitary, they're not in big groups. These bigger groups often mob the snakes and chase them away. But a dwarf mongoose, I mean, I think they do feed on some reptiles, but I've never seen them feeding on a snake. maybe the larger ones like the banded mongoose perhaps, and it'll be any snake, not just the venomous ones like the cobras and that we get in this area. It'll be any snake. Yes, Ellie, you wanted to know if the dwarf indicates that they are a smaller species. They are the smallest mongoose species, hence the name the dwarf mongoose, because they are so small. So it does indeed indicate the size. So now, and to show you, if I had to show you quickly the size of a dwarf mongoose, if it was sitting in front of me, with the tail, it's probably only about that long. But the body, I would say, is about that big. That's how big the dwarf mongoose is. Very small. Very, very small. I don't know about that. So just to give you an idea of how big they are. Anyway, Aaron, you've been patiently waiting for the Hadada call. I don't know. But they've got a very harsh, loud sound, and it varies slightly, but it's a That's terrible. No, yeah, I'm gonna have to try that one again. That was terrible. That was, Aaron, I'm sorry. That was not a Hadada call. Whatever. Let me play a Hadada call for you quickly, because. Oh dear. Okay, listen to this quickly. That was kind of close. You hear that very, very harsh, very, very harsh call. So not quite what I did, but it was close. Okay, so there was no sign of Karula and her cubs. I think she headed south across our boundary. But you know, as we've seen the last few days, she could appear at any time again. I think what we are heading into the area where James had Shadow yesterday. I'm just curious, she had a very small kill, and I don't think she would have hung around too much. She probably would have finished that. But it's worth just having a look. She could still be in the area. So that's where we're heading now. Betty Steve would like to know if I can do a James Henry impression. Oh dear. James Henry impression. Right. Well, James, yeah, James has got this slight British accent, which I don't know where it comes from, because he's from Johannesburg, so I'm not sure, but James seems to talk with authority, and he's got a wonderful vocabulary which he uses frequently, and maybe that's not the best James Henry impression, but he'll always go, "Thank you very much," when he does something great and people applaud him. He is a wonderful guitarist, though. He's an incredible guitarist and musician. I am envious. It's one of his many charms, his guitar and his singing. He is a very, very talented singer. We used to, I mean, maybe letting out some secrets here, but we used to get quite jealous of James, because he would arrive in the boma in the evening while we're sitting around with guests and other staff members, and there'd usually be well, not usually. Occasionally there'd be perhaps a ranger trying to impress a young lady, one of the staff members, new staff members that arrived, and try and impress her with these stories of tracking lions and tracking leopards and finding elephant. And James would then arrive and start playing his guitar and singing, and you could see the ranger's chances vanishing very quickly before his eyes, because it's hard to compete with the guitar around the fire. Brings back some good memories. Yes, Margaret, I have neck and back issues regularly because of turning and driving vehicles, and I do think that, we try and exercise almost daily, especially out here, which is great. There's a few of us that exercise. We go running, so Steph, James, Dave, myself, Connor, we'll all try and exercise, and it's good for your core, and that helps because you're turning and talking all the time, so it is good, and you do need to do it, because I have found that over the years of driving and turning regularly like this, my lower back does get a bit sore at times, so every now and then make an appointment with the chiropractor, straightens me out, checks my wheel alignment, as I always say, and then I'm usually fine again for a while. Okay, so we're going to carry on searching for the position where Shadow was in yesterday. While I do that, let's head back to let's head back to Shadow. Let's head back to Tayla, and maybe she is casting a shadow.
The vehicle's, yes, casting a big shadow. Now, we've still got Daryl. Thank goodness he's moved away from that fence and pushing the trees over down on the fence. Now, I have an update for you. I've just heard that the Nkahuma Pride are actually in Arathusa, and it seems as though they've taken down 2 buffalo, from what it sounds like. And I inquired, and I got a standby number 17. Can you believe that? Standby number 17, and I don't think we're going to have enough time in this drive to see them. If it was standby number 3 or 4, then yes, perhaps in 40 minutes or so, that would have been perfect. But what we'll do is we'll head there early in the afternoon, and we'll sort of try and beat the rush to them and then have a look. So we'll have to give the Nkahumas a skip this morning, just because of time restraints. But at least we found one of the things we were looking for. And I'm going to move forward a little bit. But we're going to have one last look at Daryl, and then we are going to carry on and see what else we can find. But it makes me very happy that he has indeed moved away. Thank goodness, Daryl. We'll have a quick look over here. And possibly we'll even see him at the DRC, because it seems as though he's on his way and heading in that direction. Now, speaking about Daryl's unique marking, that sort of bell shape, or the Pac-Man ghost, or a Snapchat sign, I know that once upon a time was wondering what caused it. Now, I reckon he's got another little hole in his ear, if you look here as well, on his right ear, is that when he was younger, perhaps he walked through a dense thicket with lots of thorns, and maybe a thorn made a little hole in his ear. And then often what happens is it's the bacteria that eats away at a wound like that in the ear, and it creates these amazing shapes. So I think that is what happened. Maybe he even got a tusk through the ear. I'm not sure, because it's quite a big one. I've seen elephants with perfect circles before, and a variety of different shapes. And then off he goes. I think he's actually heading towards the DRC. Let's go a little bit further forward. I don't want to get stuck with him on the road because he's a rather large elephant, so I wouldn't mind trying to actually get past him. But now you can really see how enormous he is. Right, but we're going to say goodbye to Daryl now, so everybody send your regards, and hopefully we'll see him this afternoon. But I believe Byron's got kudu's alarming.
Alright everyone, we're in this area that Shadow was around yesterday, but I just, myself and David just heard kudu alarm calling. Let me just stop and listen again. Let's try and work out where they are. I hope they haven't stopped. Come on, one more alarm call. There we go, straight ahead. Okay, there was a loud bark. It's a very loud bark. It's a bah, bah. That's the sound that the kudu make, and that's their alarm call. So let's have a look, everybody. Let's scan very, very carefully around here. This is really exciting. It's quite thick through here at the moment. Just going to listen again here. See, and usually what happens is the alarm calls chase away the predator because it draws attention to them, and they don't like that. Let's maybe just go a little bit further down. I don't see any kudu just yet. Come on, there's got to be something here, everyone. There the kudu are over there. Okay, I'm going to drive in here. Let's have a look. I see the kudu. Oh, it's not easy. It's not easy to try drive and spot. There's an impala. Okay, there's an impala over there off to our left. Here the kudu are. Okay, they're all looking in this direction. So, can you see them? They're just off to our right here. Let's just listen. I'm just going to scan very carefully. There's an impala right here. Okay, I hear some more impala alarm calls coming from ahead, but we need to look very, very carefully here, everyone. Just trying to see if there's no tracks around. I don't see anything. Mary, you asked, could it be wild dogs? And I don't think so, and I'll tell you why. It's because, hang on, here the impala, but they don't seem as phased. You know what, they also looking behind us. Those kudu are all looking to the other side, so let's head back there quickly. Mary, you asked if could they be wild dog, and I highly doubt it, because impala and that are still standing around and they're alarm calling, and I've noticed that there's very different behavior from these antelope when they're wild dog around. And the impala don't necessarily stand an alarm call. What they will do is they will most likely alarm call once, if anything, and then just run, because wild dog are persistent hunters. They run down their prey, they don't stalk. So for them to stand an alarm call is pointless, because the wild dog will run and hunt them. So all they do is they run off, and that's usually what happens. So for these kudu to also stand an alarm call, there's some buffalo through here. Wow, everyone, it is thick and it's not easy. You just have to think, if you were a leopard, where would you go? Because I do think it's possibly a leopard that was through here. Shot there, very good. Still some impala dotted around. Oh. So difficult at times, you can imagine. And what happens is that once these predators get seen, they do try and move out of the area very quickly. Just going to listen quickly. I see some impala up ahead. So there's a lot of antelope around here to warn us. But as I was saying, once they start being alarm called at, they lose that element of surprise, and generally the predators will then move out of the area. They'll try and sneak into a thicket and get away. Don't hear anything else. Let's just quickly have a look down here towards, there's like a little bit of a drainage line. Can be quite frustrating at times. We know something is around, but just to find it is so difficult. I definitely think they saw something. I mean, the impala were alarm calling, but the impala did seem a lot more relaxed than the kudu. I think the kudu probably saw whatever it was, and they were alarm calling and alerted the impala, and the impala then began to alarm call too. Okay, nothing this side. Let's head back towards those kudu, where we saw those kudu, and let's just have a look around there. A bit tricky moving through these areas, all these pushed over branches and trees. Al Gold, you asked why don't we use electric vehicles. Al Gold, and I used to work at a lodge that pioneered the research into electric vehicles and trying to get them to work, and we approached Land Rover and we tried to come up with an electric vehicle. It's not that easy. It's not that easy just to come up with an electric vehicle. You can imagine, you need to power them. You need the power to also drive through very tough terrain. Some of them do have the torque, but it's not as easy as it sounds. And to also carry around all the batteries that you need to get these vehicles going, they're very, very heavy. So it's tricky to have electric vehicles, but there is studies and research and planning and experimenting, and all going into trying to get electric vehicles. A question from Fuzzman Sparkles, and you wanted to know, is it possible that the kudu may have been alarm calling at a rock python or a snake? Possibly. It is a possibility. But I think the impala then would have come into the area and probably alarm called a bit more. If it was something like that. Okay, everyone. Sorry, it doesn't seem like we've been able to find anything, but I'm not going to give up just yet. I'm going to look around this area very, very carefully and see if we don't come up with anything. While I do that, let's head back to Tayla, see if she's left her elephant.
I have indeed left Daryl. I handed him over to Ephraim because I don't know if his guests had quite seen such a beautiful big elephant like Daryl. Now, I know that Byron did a Hadada call earlier, and I've been practicing mine, so I think we should probably do one. And now, Bryan and I have decided we're going to do a group call, so we're doing a flock of Hadadas, not just an individual, because that's normally how we hear them. Are you ready, Bryan?
I'm always ready.
1, 2, 3. Ha, ha, ha! Ha! That's our Hadada impression, and we didn't seem to scare the zebra, so we must have been quite convincing, because normally when I do any of my other calls, the animals all run in the opposite direction. So that was the Hadada call, and it was something that we were also practicing, is we were trying to practice a woodland kingfisher call, but we've worked out that this is quite a difficult one to do. We may have to team up and sort of break the call into 2 parts to try and get the whistle, and then of course that sort of very fluty, I don't even know what you'd call the other part of the call, it's going to be difficult. So that is a thing that we're working on, and when we feel as though we've got it down, we shall do it for you. So perhaps in the next couple of days, maybe in the next week or so, just to give us a bit more time to practice. Well, that's a zebra using the luxury bathroom, of course. Now, I wonder how long it's going to take for the dung beetles to arrive. Maybe this will be an interesting experiment. Maybe we should sit and see and time how long it takes the dung beetles to arrive. Okay, so it's 7:29 here in South Africa. And let's do a bit of an experiment, and I'll tell you why. It's because I've been told that it takes exactly 20 minutes for the dung beetles to find that fresh dung. Now, I've actually seen a dung beetle already. Let me go forward slightly so we can get a better view of the dung. So we're 7:29. I like doing experiments. Oh my goodness, it's going to be quicker. I think we're going to... Let's see, I'm just trying to find a clear little gap here. Hi, zebra. I'm going to change my position slightly. Okay, there's a dung beetle flying around. Sorry, I've parked up on a slope, but it's the best view. And let's see, there's a big dung beetle. Like I said, he's surveying the area. Is it going to find the dung? Well, the flies are already there. And of course, I'm checking the time as we're looking here. Anyone seen any dung beetles come through yet? There it is. Oh my goodness. And the first contender has arrived, but he's stuck upside down. It took him a whole of 1 minute to find that dung. Now, I can put that myth of 20 minutes to rest and say that if there are any dung beetles in the area, it's almost instantaneous that they will pick up that fresh dung. And that's because of the antennae that they have on their head, those little small ones. They're quite feathered. And those are sense receptors. Isn't that amazing? Here's another one. Oh my goodness. So within 2 minutes, we've got 2 dung beetles. Go dung beetles. Now we're going to watch them dig and try and separate that fresh dung. And we're going to see how quickly they get you. That was actually amazing, and that worked so much better than I thought it was going to. Let's see, they seem to be struggling to actually pull it apart, though. Have you noticed that? Are you not satisfied with the feces of a zebra? Goodbye. Okay, well, that's a bit rude. Well, we've still got our one friend here. Come on, you can pull it apart. There we go. No. This is actually quite interesting. Here's another one that's joined as well. Maybe it's still too hot. I don't know. I don't know why they aren't pulling it apart. Oh, that one's also left now. Now, we have a question from Louise in Final Control. And she was wondering if it's more difficult to pull apart when it's fresh. Now, I don't think so. because as this feces bakes in the sun, it gets a hard crust on the outside, which then makes it difficult. They sort of have to crack into the little nugget, I don't know what you'd call a piece of dung, and then try and pull out the softer bits on the inside. Maybe it's a bit slippery, I'm not sure, but they do seem to be struggling a little bit. But you can see where the flies are all sitting in the middle, but you can see that that's perfectly open. So I'm wondering why they aren't going there, because that would be very easy to pull apart. And they've got, if you've ever picked up a dung beetle, actually any beetle, I'm sure you would have felt all those sort of hard bristles on their legs, or like little grooves. Maybe they're being quite cheeky and they're just trying to take one of those little nuggets of zebra feces. So there we go. They're all coming around, and maybe try and roll that away, which is cheating, of course. You can see, look, they're able to get inside. That one's just pulled this dung nugget apart, sorry. There we go. Finally, someone has found the one in the middle. They're not impressed by this, though. And I've never known dung beetles to have a preference to dung. I mean, I've seen them collecting impala dung before and rolling it up and taking it away. You see how easy it is to open up? It's not difficult. I've seen them with buffalo dung, zebra dung, all the different types of dung. I've seen dung beetles sort of coming towards and having a look at it. Let's see if we can get anything to come through and successfully roll a ball. Now, speaking about bugs, and as we watch them, I know Maggie from Ohio was wondering if I've ever swallowed a bug while driving. Maggie, I've swallowed many bugs that would probably fill up a large dinner plate. I've eaten flies, actually a couple while I've been live here, and almost felt the need to get sick. I've eaten a butterfly once, which I don't think is very good. It was a little butterfly, of course, because I've heard that sometimes, well, there was a case in South Africa quite a few years ago, almost maybe 10 years ago. I remember I was on camp when we heard about this, and a butterfly flew into a boy's mouth, and unfortunately he ended up dying, and they said it was because of the sort of powder, the dust that you see on their wings. Maybe he had an allergic reaction and it closed his throat up, which I thought was quite scary for her. Then I used to run around with my mouth closed, but I didn't die, I was okay. What else? I've had dung beetles hit me in the face before and all sorts of other things. So yeah, we've had lots of different things. I've eaten termites on purpose and then also not on purpose. So quite a few things. I wouldn't like to eat a dung beetle though. They seem busy. These two seem to be semi-satisfied with the dung. No, that one's not. As I said, that he flew away. But there's a couple of smaller dung beetles that have now joined to the right of the flies. You see the long legs. I wonder if that wasn't a spider dung beetle, because it had particularly long legs. And lots of different insects coming through now. Of course, the flies are coming to feed on the moisture that they're getting off of the dung, and of course the dung beetles actually want the feces. So they also feed on the dung themselves, but the main thing is to house a sort of home and a food source for the egg, and then potentially for the larvae if the egg successfully hatches. Let's see, it's digging in all the different nuggets. Now, as soon as we're talking about dung, Soraya from New Jersey, you were wondering if the dung beetles didn't eat the dung, would the bush be overrun with the feces? That's correct. You are 100% right. Oh, let's see, they seem to be having an argument now, and I love the way that they're able to flick each other around. Maybe these dung beetles are actually just eating themselves, because we haven't seen them try and make a ball. We've seen them open it up a little bit and actually pop some of it in its mouth. So I wonder if they just aren't having a feed now this morning as well. And sorry, Soraya. So yes, that's definitely between the dung beetles and the termite mound, the termites and the maggots. They're responsible for getting rid of all this sort of organic matter. And of course, the dung beetles and the termites do a very, very good job. Sorry, that is me. I'm going to very quickly take my foot off the brake. I was very silly and I forgot it on here. I apologize. There we go. Very, very sneaky of me. My foot stuck to the pedal. And so yes, you saw how very early this morning, perhaps if you did catch the beginning of the show, we saw a couple of dung piles that had almost sort of looked like the feces was all loose, and it was spread out quite a bit on the ground. And that's what they do. They start to eat it from underneath. You get all the different types of dung beetles. So the endocorporate dung beetles, which live inside the dung, so they don't roll balls. They're often responsible for, it almost looks like they thin the dung out and it becomes light and fluffy, and they try and take out all those nutrients. So they like to do that. And eventually it will just go away with the combination of the rain and the wind. It'll just disappear and turn into nothing. Now there's lots of tiny little beetles you can see moving around. And I think that's what this dung beetle is doing, as I think it was actually eating itself, eating the dung instead of just trying to roll a ball up. That's quite interesting. You see there, they dig, open it up, and then move off onto the next one. You look at this sneaky one on the left, doing exactly what I said it was trying to do. Well, the one on the left did really did flip the other smaller dung beetle. Now, David from Napa, you were wondering, how do the dung beetles find the dung so fast? And that's because of the little antennae that you see over there. They're feathered, almost feathered like a moth's antennae, and they are very good sense receptors, so they're able to pick up sort of by smell. Goodbye. And they'll figure that out. But there's so much feces around in the bush. There's so many different animals, of course. But wasn't that absolutely wonderful? So I think we saw a combination of things. I think we saw the dung beetles eating. That one very quickly, I don't know if you saw, found a small enough sort of nugget of zebra dung and tried to actually almost roll it away, and then worked out, well, if it's an oval, it doesn't roll very well. And they keep going on. But wasn't that wonderful? I think we're going to move on now from the dung beetles. Good luck, dung beetles. I hope you find what you're looking for today. Well, let's jump onto the back of Byron's vehicle and David and see if they're burning up in the sun like I am.
We are starting to warm up quite a bit, but anyway, no luck unfortunately with those alarm calls that we heard. We found the kudu and the impala, but not what they were alarm calling at. We had a good look around that area. I drove in and out of there. There's a lot of antelope around, and they definitely would have alarm called again if whatever it was that they saw had stayed in the area. I think perhaps there was quite a thick little drainage line moving north from there, and I think perhaps whatever it was may have slipped in there. I have a feeling it was a leopard, but I don't know for sure. But judging by the alarm calls and that, I just have a feeling it was a leopard. So, anyway. Dispatch Griffin, you wanted to know, you saying you're enjoying rooibos tea? Why would you do that yourself? No, I'm joking. Some people like it, some people don't. I'm not a huge fan of rooibos. Dave, do you like rooibos? I love rooibos. Okay, so. But you asked if it grows in this area. No, it doesn't. And the proper rooibos tea is grown. It's not. You don't really find it out. Just out in the bush, from what I know. But we have got something that we make bush tea out of, and it is called the. It's a combretum tree. It's a russet bush willow. Now they don't have a lot of seed pods at the moment, but what you can do is you get a whole bunch of these seed pods, and they're very, very small. They're reddish brown in coloration. So Lou's just updating me with what I'm telling you. She picked up the wrong radio, I think. Just wanted to show you there's an elephant, everyone. Look at that. Just a lone bull. So speaking about the russet bush willow, and impala walking into the frame. Oh wow! Just having a look around. There's that impala, the elephant, and I don't know if you'll see it, but back right there's a giraffe. Straight through. It's actually hiding behind some tree. There we go. Look at that. See that? There's a giraffe hiding over there. Nice to see different species all in the same area. This elephant seems to be coming closer to us, which will be nice. So getting back to the bush tea that we make, and you get this russet bush willow, these pods, bush willow pods. And you take a bunch of them, they're reddish brown in color, and you can drop them in hot water and stir it up a bit, and you get like a bush tea. I have tried it. I think I tried it with James actually a few years ago. It was terrible. It wasn't very tasty at all. Didn't taste like tea, but it did flavor the water, and perhaps we didn't brew it correctly. Wow, this elephant's only got one tusk, everyone. Do you see that? Now, it is not unusual to come across an elephant with one tusk. And I was going to say, because the other one may have been broken off, and that's exactly what's happened here. This male has broken off his right tusk. You can see the remaining part of the tusk over there. Now, I'm sure most of you would be wondering, will that grow back? No, it won't. There are nerves that run through the tusk, and it can be painful if they do break them. But once those nerves have been severed, it doesn't, or it's not able to grow again. And this elephant is just dropping some more food for the dung beetles. Oh, Stephanie, you've asked if the elephant, or because the elephant digestive system is so poor, would they be considered to be more prehistoric? Now, that's an interesting question. I would guess so. If you think of the woolly mammoth that was prehistoric, and compare that to the elephant, they were so similar. So maybe the elephant's digestive system hasn't evolved as much as some of the other animals. It's an interesting question. I'm not sure, but it sounds plausible. So yeah, very good question. Alright, I think why don't we head up towards quarantine area, those clearings, just see what we have around there. I see there's a vulture in a tree in the distance, and that's possibly because of that lion kill, that buffalo kill that was there yesterday. Jennifer, so Steph has shown you that elephant dung tea, I believe, where he squeezes the moisture out of the elephant dung. And you want to know if I've ever tried it? No, fortunately I've never needed to. If I was stranded in the bush and I had no other option, I would do it, because that's survival. But luckily I carry a water bottle with me. So what happened to my water bottle? Oh dear. No, it's alright. Well, we got a big water bottle, so so we're alright. We won't need to drink any elephant dung tea. While I head towards the clearings, Tayla's got some birds on the ground.
Now, that is not the crowned lapwing making that noise. It is Bryan and I trying to communicate with the birds this morning, and we were actually successful. We at one point were making that noise. We were a bit closer to the vehicle, and there was one that was sort of responding though, but I don't know what it was saying. It was probably telling us to go away or you sound terrible. Probably one of those two. And there's about 5 of them running around here, so I'm not sure if they're just out on a foraging mission because they seem to be covering quite a fair sort of distance. You can see that one has obviously found something delicious. Now they eat a variety of different things. You often see them eating little insects, but I'm sure that they peck away at a couple of seeds too. And we wondered if they did have a nest around here. Maybe they do. Their nests are very well hidden on the ground. It's almost a little indentation on the ground, and then they just lay their eggs there. And I think if I'm not mistaken, the eggs are normally a brownish color. Let's have a quick look on this app. Yes, they are. I couldn't remember. Oh no, let me just show you. I couldn't remember between them and the spotted thickney. Let's have a look. No, I want that one. Not a black winged. Where is the one I'm looking for? Sorry, I'm trying to find it now. My phone seems to have frozen. There. Let me scroll. And I'm going to have to tilt my phone. Let's look at the eggs. So let's do this. That's better. Can you see that? Don't look at the size though, it's wrong. And beautiful brown eggs to blend into the ground. And they'll almost be invisible, and it's quite easy to stand on them, so it's always good when you are walking in the bush just to be careful. Not to always have to watch out for things like snakes and scorpions and insects and those type of things, but it's very important that you look for birds' nests, and it's very, very, very easy to squash them. I remember growing up, we lived on it's called a small holding, so it's not quite a farm. It was just a couple of hectares of land, and my dad just had kikuyu grass growing everywhere, so it was just like a big golf course really. It was quite ridiculous, and of course we had to mow this lawn. And we had a big lawn mower that we used to sit on, and we always used to have, it was sort of my brother and our chores. Once a week on the weekend, it would take us 3 hours to mow the lawn, and we would do this. And before though, because I was very paranoid and I very much loved animals, and we had spotted thickneys and all crowned lapwings and all sorts of ground-dwelling birds running around. And I'd go and I used to walk up and down the property looking for nests, and I found a couple of nests. And then I'd have to go and find big rocks and put it around, not on top of the nest, but around there, because my dad, he would just mow. He just went, and whatever was in the way, he used to just mow over. So I put big rocks everywhere. And he used to get quite upset because then he'd have to come with a weed eater, you know, one of those little whippersnappers, and then cut the grass around the rocks because he couldn't mow it properly. But that's the end of my crowned lapwing story. Hope you enjoyed it, but let's go back across to Bryan, who's got a waterbuck.
I have indeed got a waterbuck and a warthog. Look at the little warthogs in the back. Now they have found such a beautiful area. I cannot tell you how noticeable the change has been over the last 2 weeks with all this green grass that has shot up after the rain that we've had. We are so fortunate in this area, everybody. The southern part of the Sabi Sands is still very, very dry. And look how these antelope and warthog are enjoying all these green grass shoots. Have a look at that warthog back right. You can see it on its knees feeding, and that just allows it to get down, and it can move around and feed on the grass, and the grass shoots very, very easily. Look at that. You've got such character. I love warthog, I really do. They're in the shade there too. So that waterbuck moved off. It looks like he's moved off just behind the termite mound, but there's that other warthog still there. Just enjoying the cool breeze, the green grass, the shade. Life could not be better at the moment for those warthog. I suppose actually if they were in a mud wallow, they love wallowing in mud, and that could possibly be better than this. So if there was a mud wallow around there, it would be like a holiday. And it's nice and open, so they can keep an eye out for any potential predators if there was something around. So they're completely safe out there. They're incredibly fast. Very, very fast and agile. So unless a predator really ambushes them, the chances of them catching the warthog are not very, very good. What a beautiful scene. There's large trees, marula trees around them. And the warthogs enjoying the shade and the green grass. Some flies bothering us at the moment. Alright, let's continue and see what else we find. Tayla's got another warthog, but it sounds like it's right next to her. Let's have a look.
As we were coming around the corner, we found this little piggy having a snooze. As you can see, it looks like a male warthog. A little bit tattered though. You can see ears are a little bit torn. Covered in mud though as well, so probably yesterday or the day before it had a mud bath. And it's quite strange, it doesn't want to move, and I'm quite happy with just sitting here watching this warthog. But it seems absolutely exhausted. Oh, it's reacting. There's a roller flying around it, and it got that sort of jump that it did. It got a bit of a fright. It's okay, you can carry on sleeping. Now, this little one is probably going to have to get up and move at some point. And I say little, it's not really little. Just because the sun is going to move around and that shade is already starting to disappear. You can even see, since we've been here, a lot more light coming through now. So Piggy, I think you're going to have to go and find a wallow under some shade. And I know a good spot. So if you can understand me, if you head to Pan, there's a lovely tree and a nice pond of water with lots of mud, and I think that you could probably rest there for most of the day. You'll probably be bothered by some elephants though, but they'll move off eventually. Are you thinking about it? Are you perhaps going to go there? Maybe not. But a lovely warthog nonetheless. And life must be tough when you're constantly on the menu for other animals. So something like a warthog just sitting out here in the open, not much cover other than it being in the shade. It's actually quite vulnerable. Now you better be careful and keep an eye out. But you can see listening though in the distance as the birds fly over. It does react. Now it's looking around, and they've got a very good sense of smell. You can see that little snout is nice and dirty. It was obviously out grazing. And typically the top of their snout is always covered in mud or sand, and that's because it's very, very hard. So there's quite hard cartilage there, and they use that like a spade to dig up the grass. Isn't that beautiful? Very hairy warthog too. Right, little warthog, we're going to leave you now, but enjoy your day and enjoy the shade. And I hope that nothing eats you. Good luck. May nature be kind to you. Unfortunately, we're reaching the last couple of minutes of the show, and it's been wonderful as always. So from myself, Bryan, and the thumb, of course, we'll catch you this afternoon for the sunset safari, but I believe that Byron has got some elephants.
We've got two big elephant. Look at that. This is a really large bull in front of us. And they're enjoying the shade, and I thought it was a good idea to come and join them. So we in the cool shade with this breeze blowing. Really is lovely. And look how this elephant is actually resting. He's got his trunk on the ground. Look at that, everyone. And they do this at times. They kind of almost like they doze off a little bit, they rest, and they just stay very, very calm. What they'll do is they'll also shift the weight between two legs at a time. So probably lean to the left for a while, then lean to the right. Very, very peaceful scene. This is wonderful. So calm. And look, it does look like that elephant has almost dozed off slightly. They won't necessarily fall asleep completely, but they will close their eyes, they will rest. Oh, this is incredible. Very, very special. And they're not feeding, they're not doing anything other than just resting, just relaxing. And now I have seen elephants lying down before, and they do that at times, everyone, to rest and sleep. But it doesn't happen very often, but I have seen it. And you see he's flapping his ears very slowly, and that's just helping cool the body down. It cools the blood in the ears, and as that blood circulates through the body, it regulates the temperature. So that's just what he's doing. Every now and then, just the one or two flaps. There we go. See that? Well, we had an exciting morning. We had leopard tracks. We had antelope alarm calling at what I thought was leopard, but unfortunately no leopard. But who knows what the afternoon holds for us. I hope you've all enjoyed this morning. It really has been great. And it's been a peaceful morning, a different morning. Had some beautiful bird calls. A lot of elephant around. I know Tayla sat with some elephant, and she got to see that big elephant bull she was looking for. So who knows what the afternoon holds for us. We'll see what we can find. Thank you again to all our viewers. Really wonderful having with you on our safari with us, and I hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have. And we will see you this afternoon. Don't forget to join us for our sunset safari. A big thank you to Lou and Kirsten in the final control. Thank you to Tayla and Bryan, and thank you to Dave for joining me on camera this morning. Thanks, Dave.
Sure.
And we will see you all this afternoon. Enjoy your day or your evening, wherever you are in the world, everyone. Goodbye, good night. We'll see you all.